Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Deep Dive, this special edition that we are having this week because here at Hickory Flat, we just celebrated 30 years of Stephen ministry here at Hickory Flat, and we have the originator of Stephen ministry here at Hickory Flat 30 years ago, Barbra Hatchell, who was on staff here as associate pastor at the time. So welcome, Barbra.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so we're going to, Barbra and I have known each other for a long time, so we're going to have a great episode talking to Barbra this morning, and so let's go. So Barbra, I was trying to remember how and when we met, because it's all a blur because it was over 30 years ago.
Yes, it is.
When you said you came in 93, I came in 94 to Holly Springs in my student appointment.
Right.
And so I was a little confused about one thing. Were you a student appointment at Decatur, or was that your home church?
No, Decatur was Zip Long. He came from Decatur.
He came from Decatur.
I came from actually North Springs United Methodist, which was my home church.
Oh, wow.
So it was my real first appointment.
First appointment out of seminary.
Joey went as a Stephen minister.
Yes.
No, he did not. As a student pastor to Fields Chapel.
Fields Chapel, yeah. He was there at the same time. But we might have known each other through Emmaus before then.
I think that's what it was. As I was trying to think back, that's where it probably was.
Yeah.
But that was so long ago.
It wasn't long ago. But anyway, so first of all, I think people would love to hear about Hickory Flat in those days. I got a chance to talk to Joey a lot, and he was just kind of amazed at how things have changed from 30 years ago driving around this area. Had you been back, or what was your experience?
I was back in December here, came to the ladies' Christmas tea.
Okay.
And got a taste of what was going on.
Yeah.
But Joey didn't come with me.
Yeah.
So it had been a little bit of.
It's only just beginning, but everywhere you look, where there used to be a cow field, there's a subdivision, and there's good and bad that comes with it.
Sure.
It certainly benefits the church. But tell us about what it was like the first time you drove up here at Hickory Flat, because Just quick, I want to get to you.
Yeah.
But like when I came here, Teresa and I were driving around, and I remember driving down this road, East Cherokee, and there was nothing. And suddenly I saw coming up this, because it was a fairly new building, this beautiful building that was on the right. And I was like, well, look, somebody has planted a Baptist church out here. And then
in the middle of nowhere.
And then I saw it, and I was like, it's a United Methodist Church. Wow, great, awesome.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we were living in Sandy Springs at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a good 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
Not bad. Can't do that anymore. But as we were coming, we came up 140.
Yeah.
And so the closer and closer we got, I kept saying, this is in the country.
Yeah, it was back then.
This is in the country.
Yeah.
And then it was farmland. And I said, oh, Lord, where have you sent me? I said I'd go where I'm sent, but where have you sent me? And so that's why it was so hysterical for me, because I'm a city girl.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in the country. So just seeing cows in the backyard was amazing. I came with Zip Long,
Right.
And it was his first senior pastor appointment.
Okay.
He came from being associate
at Decatur
First.
Right.
So here we are, two newbies to this whole countryside. And I will have to say, Zip had vision.
Yeah.
Because we went for a car ride one day, and he drove all over the place before Bradshaw Farm was even existing.
Oh, wow, that wasn't long ago.
And he said, you see this corner? Nothing there. Or it was the firehouse or something, where Chick-fil-A is now.
Right.
I remember that was the only building. And Joey remembers exactly what it was. I don't. And the shopping center, he said, there'll be a shopping center here with probably a Publix. I mean, he just went on, and I thought the man was crazy. I said, not in a million years is that going to happen. Well, it didn't take even 30 years for growth to be coming. So when we've come occasionally and just watched the growth, but today, when we drove up here, Joey said, "Did you ever really imagine all the subdivisions and still some cows?" There are still some cows, still some farms. Thank goodness.
And we hope that they stay.
I hope so too.
I think as a pastor, there's benefit to the church because the church is going to grow. But it is. I will say, as someone who's lived here for 5 years now, we probably need to slow down a little bit because traffic is. We've overbuilt the infrastructure.
Exactly.
We're overbuilding the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so, but there's lots of plans that are going on, and I think there was back then. Cherokee County has just exploded, and I think we heard recently they're expecting in the next 10 or 15 years like 35% growth.
Wow.
Every flat. So it's going to continue, not just here in this area, but all over Cherokee County. And there's you have to get out towards Ball Ground and stuff to see that. And so, there's good and there's bad that are accompanied with that.
There's a lot of challenges that come with that.
Yeah, but I think what it has is the people that are a part of the church realize that things are changing, and so a lot of churches where you get in maybe some more established communities will think things have always been this way in art. I think people do expect change here, and we have people that kind of come and go here.
Yeah.
But you did see some people that you recognized this morning from 30 years ago.
Exactly. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was like homecoming.
Yeah. It was, and you brought some folks with you too.
I did. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, I knew some were coming.
Yeah.
I knew Steve Hoover would probably be here because he was one of the first, and Carolyn and I had talked about that. But I knew only one of my now current Stephen ministers was coming, but she orchestrated the whole.
Yeah, and so for those of you who don't know, this morning, she is now at Smyrna First, does congregational care at Smyrna First, and is over Stephen ministry there.
Retired. Huh? Supposedly retired.
Retired. Still a staff position.
Keep coming back.
But all her Stephen ministers came this morning, all wearing their shirts, and it was a beautiful thing. They love you. So
they do.
That was awesome. So just before we get in a little bit into your sermon and talking about Stephen ministry, tell us about like life there. I love the story you tell about like there was a cow field that is, I guess, sits where our administrative building is now.
And that's exactly where it was, cows. And you could see them through the glass, of course. So I always imagined being on the other side, being part of the congregation. And if you got bored with the sermon, you just could look out at the cows and meditate on that pastoral setting. Yeah.
So I've had a couple of conversations with Zip, who was here at the same time.
Yes.
And, he was talking about this is one of the favorite places he had ever been to preach. And I agree with him. I have preached I've been appointed to several churches that were kind of the same shape, rather than just having kind of the long shoebox kind of thing. And I've always loved that kind of space. But one thing I do love is that the windows are clear.
I do too.
And you can look outside and you see both the natural light, but I think it's also looking beyond like what would traditionally be stained glass, but you're actually looking out into your community and being reminded of that. So
that's beautifully
a beautiful
said.
thing.
Yes, it is. It's gorgeous. And, you then know that you're not contained in the building. I love the semi-round, and everything about it.
Right, it's, going back to our founder, John Wesley, this was the kind of preaching rooms that he designed and liked too. So there's a heritage there, but it really is. It just creates kind of a warmth environment. So I love it here and love preaching in that room. And so let's just quickly, you talked about in your sermon, and if you haven't watched the sermon for this week, I do invite you to go back and there's more than just the sermon. There's just the whole service was a celebration this morning. But in it, you were talking about the genesis of how Stephen ministry began here. But could you just kind of reshare that again for folks?
Yes, I'll be glad to. It was all God's doing for sure. I was not absolutely positive what my associate role was going to be because it was my first appointment. And you don't get coached as to why you're being sent there. And Zip had been an associate, so we weren't sure about that either. And one day I just asked God, I said, you've placed me here for a reason. You've got to reveal it to me, because there's a lot that can happen. It was brand new. We had been told that they had this little tiny church down the road, and they had outgrown it, and it no longer existed, and they came here. And when I met, the first person I remember meeting turned out to be one of my best Stephen ministers. Her name's Ann Holt, and she has since passed away. But she said to me, along with several other older people talking about change, I said, well, how do you like it in this new place? And they both separately said, well, just think about it. We never would have met you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just flabbergasted that they, and I'm at that age now, would accept change in such a beautiful, hospitable way.
So that is a beautiful story. But going back to the history of Harry doing. So you had two,
And then and with me it's three.
and you go to St. Louis.
So we go to St. Louis, and we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. Honestly, Dave, we were overwhelmed the first day. It was like a fire hose coming at us.
Yeah.
And we'd go back to the hotel, and they'd look at me and go, what have you gotten us into?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
So because that week there is 50 hours.
It's intense.
50 hours of content over like 5 days?
Yeah.
So you're in class 10 hours a day.
Yeah. And you get reams and reams of paper. And they, back then, they don't do this now, but we had folders, lots of folders. And each folder, they made us take out the folder and put our name on it so that it wouldn't get lost, because we might lose it. We don't want to lose it. So we had to do that, put it back in our file thing. I should have brought it, my Stephen Ministry bag that had all the files in it, and it's huge, canvas bag, and I still have it. And I think back and wonder, how did we not just run and hide? But we hung in there, and it got better and better each day. And then finally, it was God. We looked at each other and said, okay, we need at least 3 leaders. Here we are, 3 leaders. What do you feel like is the fit for you?
Right.
And one of them said, oh, I can teach. I can do education, continuing education. The other one said, oh, I'm really organized and I can supervise. Okay, you're the supervision leader. And that left referrals coordinator to me.
Which is a natural role for
because the
pastor,
referrals coordinator,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a pastor according to Stephen Ministry, but you have a better, or should have a better idea about the pulse of the congregation. And if somebody comes and says, I really think I need a Stephen minister, you meet with them, you do intake on them, and then you explain Stephen Ministry to them, what it is, what it isn't, and then you say, would you still like to have one?
Yeah.
And they agree, and they are signing an agreement that says, this is something I do want to do. Then I have to go and pray a lot about who's going to be assigned to that person.
Yeah.
And I can say all or nothing about it, just that I think you're the person. And so from that time then, I can let go, and I put it in a file, and I put my mind out of it because it's confidential. I've been known to be in supervision meetings, and one of the Stephen ministers is talking about somebody and looking at me like, well, so-and-so. And I go, I don't know who you're talking about. And they were like, what? I said, I have to put that out of my mind. I have 5 or 6 files for people that have Stephen ministers. I'm not supposed to remember.
No.
If I forget, I know who they are if I look them up, but I don't want to, every time I see that person, to say, oh, yeah, I know your problem in it.
Sure.
Because it's so confidential.
So this is going to be great and informative about Stephen Ministry. So there are Stephen leaders,
right,
who are also Stephen ministers,
right,
but Stephen leaders, and then there's Stephen ministers. And
correct.
so you've got your core Stephen leaders
right,
but we saw the picture of the first class. So then you have to train Stephen leaders. So tell us about how that came about and who responded.
So first you got to get them to sign up.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, according to Stephen Ministry, we're not going to cut corners. We're going to say we have 50 hours of training. So we have to pick a date and a time, how often we're going to meet. And then our Stephen leaders, all three of us, took turns with different modules. There are 2 volumes that are huge, and there's a module for everything you could possibly think about.
Right.
And those modules are taught individually. Back in the day, it was overheads and, you know, all sorts of things. Now,
They're videos.
Yeah, and videos.
Yeah.
And so now they've streamlined, and we typically feel like you don't have to say it over and over again a lot of different ways. If we think somebody doesn't need to have it audio as well as visual, we'll just combine things. But really and truly, the Stephen Ministry congregations that don't make it, don't do it the way Stephen Ministry says to do it.
We were talking earlier, and I've had experience with both. In the places where it's worked, is where Stephen Ministry has been around for 50 years. They have done quite a bit. Frankie, did you need something?
No, I just
Okay, that's right. Okay. Yeah, Stephen Ministry has been around for 50 years, so they know what they're doing.
Right.
And I have been at churches where they skipped steps and skipped rules, and so you've got your leaders, which is your initial investment,
Right.
and that's 50 hours of training to be a leader. And then to be a minister, you've got 50 hours. Now, the leader training is usually done in 1 week, one very intense week, but it takes months.
It does.
To train up your Stephen ministry. And I say that just because, if you were feeling called in the ministry, realize it's a big commitment. But also if you are looking for care, if you were saying, maybe I need a Stephen minister, understand these are well-credentialed people, right?
Exactly. We're not therapists and we're not licensed, but we are well-trained.
Right.
And confidentiality to me is key.
Yeah.
I say it every time I get around a Stephen minister. Remember, the reason that this ministry has lasted as long as it has is because the Stephen ministers take that oath that, yes, everything I hear is going to be confidential. If you breach that, then what does the congregation think?
Then you're done.
I don't
to get that trust
them.
back. Yeah.
And once that trust is gone,
Yeah.
your program's gone.
Right. So how long did it take you to recruit and train that first class?
Well, I was looking back on notes that I had made, and so I came in 93, and it was 96 before
Right.
we were all together with everything that we needed.
I can imagine.
It was a good 3 years.
Yeah.
I think 2 years is also doable. Just in a year's time, it's too fresh, and you've got to not only train the ministers, but you've got to get the awareness out there. You've
Right.
got to tell the congregation what it is. And we're still doing that today.
Yeah.
We're still trying to.
It's a constant thing.
It is a constant
It's a
thing.
constant thing, and we just did the Stephen Ministry just did a survey to try to figure out what the awareness is. I do think at Hickory Flat, most people have heard of Stephen Ministry and are aware basically what they do.
Yeah.
But understanding the biblical reasons for it and all of that, they don't know.
And we put Christian in the word there because it is a
Right,
Christian
yeah.
lay care.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So you got your first class, and they were commissioned, and then you got moved somewhere else. No, you were here for a couple more years.
Yeah, I was here, because I was here 5 years total.
Yeah.
So 2 years of being able to get it up and running, and didn't have a clue as to whether it would still go after I left. And I'm so delighted to see that, my goodness,
you built a
here
good
we
foundation. You built a great foundation.
It was built with dedicated lay people.
That's awesome. That really is awesome. And so you had a beautiful sermon this morning, bearing one another's burdens. And just a few words about that, just as we get to the close here.
Yes, I thought about what to use, to talk, and because Stephen Ministry is a well-oiled machine, so their key verse is that Galatians verse 6:2, and when you break it down and think about, bear one another's burdens and therefore fulfill the law of Christ, that's a mouthful there. And I wanted to be able to, as we say in seminary, unpack it for us all to understand. And so that was the core of what my message, I wanted it to be.
But it was beautifully done and beautifully received. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, just go wherever you do, either on our website or on our YouTube page or our Facebook page, and watch Barbra's sermon, because it was spot on and it was great for all of us. But I do appreciate, we're doing this on a Sunday today, and they're waiting lunch for us, and so this may end up being a little bit shorter than normal. But God bless everybody. We are I think you mentioned your sermon. We are using it. It's not really. I'm not following it like chapter by chapter in sermon series, but it is one of my resources. But we have a lot of classes that are studying that book.
That's what I was told.
It's a wonderful.
You see, that in itself, Dave, is keeping the awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, don't we need empathy in the world right now?
We do. God knows we do.
Are you aware that there is a movement away from empathy? They're calling it toxic empathy, and saying that maybe Christ wasn't as empathetic as we thought he was. I find it pretty antithetical to what I read about Jesus, but because he kind of personified that in all that he did and was, and you do as well. And I appreciate you and Joey and your friendship over the years and your ministry at Smyrna. And so Godspeed to you. And we'll see everybody back next week on The Deep Dive. Thank you for watching.